Hey guys, today I wanted to show you how you could make an Iron Man helmet kind of like this. This is the Mark 42, and yeah, I just wanted to do like a tutorial video really quickly. Well, not quickly, but just to give you a general idea of like how something like this would be made. So for this specific example, I used a front reference, a back one, and a side one. I have a link in the description for where I got like these images. It's like a Instagram page, but basically how you import these is Shift A, mesh, or not mesh, image, reference, and then you pick the image. So like, for example, it's just a random thing. I don't even know what this is. But first you press Control R to clear the rotation, and then you do RZ90, well not RZ, RX90, and then you just have to set it up basically. But other than that, yeah, and the entire time you're editing, you're going to be here, or on the back, right? So how you would start off is kind of with the front or the side, and then after a while you can start to do the back. But let's get into actually modeling it. So let's delete these for now. And these. So we would just start off with a basic plane, RX90, and then where this is on this axis does not matter at all. Just keep it wherever it is. And then this axis does kind of matter. So first, we're going to delete all the vertices except for one. And then we're just going to put that vertex in the middle somewhere. And we're only going to be making this side because we're going to use a mirror modifier later. Basically, you just start off with like outlining the shape for it. How I'm doing this is by pressing E. So every time I press E, it makes a new vertex, and then you just move it to where. Well, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just making this part actually. So we're gonna go from here to here to here. We'll just be making this segment for this tutorial because it takes a lot more time to make the rest of it. Okay. So you pretty much got that, right? Now you can just, you also want to do right here. Press Command R to make a cut here. Do this, and then join these two by pressing F. Now A to get all your vertices, and then just press F to fill it in on your keyboard. And then what I like doing from here, well actually, before we fill it in, we have to check to see if this matches up on the side. So go to this axis by clicking on it. And then what I like doing is kind of just checking like where I'm at. So I know this is the top vertex for here. I'll click here, and then I can kind of like align it with like where it needs to go, right? So it's kind of in the middle. So I'll put it like here, right? It's just kind of doing this little stuff. And you can see the shape starting to kind of form already, really. But yeah. And sometimes it's not always going to be accurate because maybe like I didn't really put this in the right spot in the first place or whatever. So, wait, actually I'm making a mistake here because this is supposed to be here. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be like here-ish, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I think so. And again, it's gonna be a little confusing at like the start, because you don't really know what you're doing. But that's fine. Just keep making whatever you're making. It'll eventually kind of start to make more sense, really, as you are making it. Okay, and then I can kind of, whether we're on this axis, usually you never want to move it up and down, or on this axis either. It's usually just this axis that you need to move it. Okay, and then you can kind of check to see where we're at. And you can see we've basically made the whole shape. That's, it seems a lot harder than you think it would be, but it's actually pretty simple. And you just kind of make sure you check to see if everything is right. What I like doing is, what you can also do sometimes is go here and make this like, I'm not sure if I remember where it was actually. No, there's a way you can make like the background transparent, but you don't really need that. Usually when the vertices starts, like, if you can't see the vertices, just press command option. Well, for me, I'm on Mac, so I press option Z, but on Windows it's probably something different. Anyways, so we've basically made like the shape for it, right? There's some small things like here you need to fix. And then if you look at it here, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but it does here, right? So it's just small things like that sometimes you have to fix. But yeah, if everything looks kind of right, that's how you know. Like everything kind of aligns. That's how you kind of know if like you're making it right or not, right? And then yeah, like for here, for example, you need like another cut right here. And then yeah, you can tell like you wouldn't really be able to tell that when you see a vertex here unless you had this view, right? Anyways, so now we can actually fill it in, and you can notice it looks kind of weird, but that's fine because we're gonna fix that. Or actually, let's yeah, so fill it in first, and then what I like to do is just kind of guess where like the geometry like generally should probably go. So like for example, like I would probably put it here. I would make a cut here. I'll make a cut here. Make a cut here. I'll probably make a cut like here-ish. A cut here, and that's basically it, really. There are a couple n-gons, like right here. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is 5, so this is an n-gon, but it's not really the biggest deal ever. And from now, we're just moving the vertices manually to kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Okay, there you go. And you can see the shape is basically starting to form. Like we're kind of getting what you want, right? And if something doesn't really look right, like for example, if I have something like this going on, what you do is you just press 2 on your keyboard to go into edge select, and it's either gonna be this, or if that doesn't work, this. Well, in this case that doesn't work, but usually this works, but in some cases it doesn't really. But yeah, we've pretty much made the whole shape, and you can notice it looks kind of weird. All you gotta do is just do shade auto smooth, and then usually it fixes it. But in this instance, the vertices are kind of weird. That's weird. I don't know why it looks like this, because usually I would press shade auto smooth and then it would fix it, but not in this case, I guess. Yeah, that's really weird actually. I'm not sure why this happens. Maybe you just need to move things around a little bit. I don't know. I never had this happen before actually. Maybe merge by distance. See, but weird things like this are happening. I'm not sure, like shit like that shouldn't really happen. But I'm assuming something happened when I filled it in. I think, guys, when I filled this in, it made like some unnecessary vertices. I think that's the reason why. Actually, we could do a face select. This would be a lot easier. But it's just gonna delete all my vertices. That's the thing. I think I actually fixed it. Yeah? I don't know. Maybe it is because the end guns actually. Is it though? It just, the shading is like not right, bro. I don't think it gets like what the fuck to do here. It's like really confused, bro. Okay, I think that kind of fixes it a little bit. Wait, but the thing is, on the original, it's like supposed to have a line here. The fuck? Where did that go? Yeah, we can delete this here. Edges, and then just fill it in. Because this is 4 sides, right? عشان نبغى يغبر. No, يغبر. مش يغبر. No, يغبر. But yeah, so it would be like kind of. I mean, how are we looking so far? So auto smooth. Okay. That's the reason why. The problem is we have flipped faces. So how you fix this is just. Oh, not these ones. The darker ones is what you want. It's like these. Control plus N flip, and that's gonna fix everything. Yeah, boom. That was the issue. It was because of the faces were flipped. That's why. So look, you remove the auto smooth. Take this modifier off. Oh, what the fuck? Okay, yeah. So it looks like this, right? And then auto smooth, and it looks right. And then this isn't perfect geometry, but for this example, it doesn't really work that badly. Like, I mean, in the final version, I made the geometry look kind of different, but you just kind of have to like guess like what geometry looks better and just kind of play around with it. Because really, there's no perfect way to do geometry, like, you know. So, but the way you do geometry does kind of change the shading. So like now we've kind of got like this line here that wasn't really there before, if you notice, right? And it can kind of change some things, like for example this point right here. So you have to be a little careful with it. But if you need to make things like this, like where there will be like a line right there, I'm not gonna actually make the rest of the helmet for this tutorial because that's gonna be way too long. But I'm pressing E to do this, by the way, to extrude. How it would be is just you go here and you do mark sharp, and then it will look like this. Well, not for here, but yeah. By the way, don't use this like extrude method to actually make the rest of the helmet. How you make the rest of the helmet is how we made this. We would just trace it and then fill it in. And yeah, make sure when you fill it in that the faces are correctly flipped. I can check that just by pressing Option Z, and then it'll show you. If it's not right when you do this. Some of the faces are going to look darker. It's like, as we saw earlier, it's going to look like this. You just flip it and then it looks fine. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you make pretty much an entire helmet. As you can see, the topology here kind of end up looking something like this. You kind of have to like play around with it, kind of just see what works better, what like kind of fits the shape more. Like maybe you'd want this to be like a little higher, or kind of like stick out more, and just look at like different angles. Like from here, you can kind of tell me this could be like a little lower or whatever. But you just have to make sure you don't actually touch, like for example, this shape, because if I touch that, then it's not gonna look right here, right? You always want the outline shape to be always the same. The only stuff you ever touch is the vertices that are actually inside of it. But for example, it kind of ended up looking like this in this version, right? But if we look at like, for example, the old one, it looked a little more something like this, right? And it's just because, you know, I kind of played around when it was different. This has a lot more things that I did with it, like this and this. But yeah, you can see how like the lines are sharped, especially like kind of around here. And where it makes a big difference really is like, for example, something like the, I guess not really there actually, yeah. Or like here, for example. Like if I remove that sharp, this is what happens. You see what I mean? It doesn't really look right. So you want to keep that on some faces. What happens sometimes is it'll like fade out. So you want to make sure it's marked sharped on the things that it needs to be. But yeah, that's basically it for the tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know.